So a couple weeks ago, we actually talked about the Brampton pilot program that they were having for landlords and illegal rentals in Brampton.
News for Brampton residents: if you have a rental property or if you have a second dwelling where you have a tenant in there, you should watch this full video and learn about what has just changed as of January.
Now, we've seen it come to a halt here in February, but the city of Brampton is not going to stop there. Even though the residents are fuming and 7,000 people have signed the petition to get rid of this program altogether, the city of Brampton is planning to start it back up in March. So today we've got another article here on stories.com. We can cover and give you guys a little bit more insight on what's going to change in the program and what is going to stay the same going forward. You're going to hear from a couple residents who were interviewed as well, who are not too happy with the current situation. Let's see what the article has to say. All I will say is these illegal rentals, although they are supplying housing or rental opportunity for people in the market, being in an illegal rental, if it's illegal and there is a reason why it shouldn't be available to be rented out to certain people, maybe it's not safe. I don't care if it's an additional inventory on the market. I think safety should trump everything else. Let's get into the article. So, article titled, Brampton is to resume the landlord licensing pilot in March, despite the public outcry. City of Brampton staff have said that they intend to relaunch the hotly contested residential real estate licensing program with new clarified parameters next month. A new program designed to help the city of Brampton crack down on illegal rental accommodations and hold all rental dwellings to a higher standard was abruptly paused last month following public outcry. The city staff say that they intend to resume the program with new clarified parameters come March. Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown said at the recent Community Council meeting on January 31st that there are as many as 100,000 people living in illegal rental units across the city, and that the ultimate aim for the residential licensing program is to get those dwellings legitimized. Can you imagine there's 100,000 people living in rentals that are not legitimate rental units? I can see why the city of Brampton is having an issue here. I know that people would say it's more money for the city. What are they going to do with it? However, these rentals, if they're illegal, we want to know if they are even remotely safe for the people living in them. I've seen news story after news story recently in Brampton where you've got 20 people, 30 people, 7 people living in a basement apartment. So this is all going to be compiled into the guidelines here that are going to be required for this licensing program. The funding in Brampton is based on a per capita from the province and feds. The fact that we have 100,000 people potentially living in illegal units means we don't get that money, Brown added. So it means that the pressure on the healthcare and the police is exacerbated because of all of this. We want money for those services. We need to actually know who is living in the illegal units. This is fair enough, in my opinion. Brown also cleared up what appears to be a common misconception about the program, emphasizing that the pilot will only affect the illegal dwellings. If you have a legal unit, this will not affect you. There is no fee, there's no process. You're automatic, he said. Fantastic news. If you own a rental and you have legitimized it, you don't have to worry about any of this. This is not a pilot program that is for you. So if there was an outcry coming from you or somebody you know that was running a legitimate rental, having somebody down there legally, it's not going to apply to them. Let's see what else the article has to say. What little we know of the RLL program, we have strong reservations in terms of how it was addressed, brought about without a town hall, one landlord said. Compliance has to be with the onboarding. We need to believe that in this process, there is going to be some initiative taken. There's no doubt that there's a problem here, another landlord present at the meeting said. The problems are talking about excessive garbage, legal car parking, grown out grass, broken eaves troughs and soffits, but the bylaws are already in place. So make these bylaws work. If they're not working, figure out why they're not working. This pilot project is not going to do anything but cause bigger problems. It will cause a shortage of rental housing because a lot of people will avoid renting their basement apartments to avoid the harassment from the bylaw officers. So instead of putting together a new program, why not utilize the bylaws that we already have? This is interesting. So a resident thinks that by having more red tape, you'll have less rentals. And I tend to agree. I think that if there was more red tape to kind of step around, if I had a rental suite in my own property, I may just not do that. However, It's important to have these steps to make sure that these units are legal rentals. I know paying the city is not an ideal part of it, but it's more of a safety thing that's built into this whole process here. This program was first unveiled to the public last spring at the end of March. The Brampton City Councilors voted unanimously to approve the 2-year pilot program, which was brought up because there are so many additional suites that they were seeing across the city. We've also received significant increase in complaints related to property standards, parking, particularly in 2-unit dwellings and illegal lodging houses. Enforcement faces challenges in addressing these complaints, such as difficulty in contacting property owners. This was said shortly after the motion was passed. This is a pilot program that will help us ensure the rental properties in our city are held to a higher standard of safety and maintenance. All landlords should be held accountable for their properties. It is important to prioritize the safety and well-being of our residents, and this program is a step in the right direction towards achieving our goal. I agree here 100%. This is one of those things where you have to have some kind of standards. You have to have certain rules and regulations. You can't just be renting out your house in a room by room by room basis without having a legal rental. I think it's going to take a lot more persistence to get a lot of these people to give the information or even to be able to contact some of these illegal rentals. And what truly is the consequence here? If somebody does not submit their documentation and they have an illegal rental, if they are being sneaky about it, how long is it going to take to even figure out that they're running an illegal rental? Especially if there's no additional vehicles parked, potentially. If it's a student, they may not even have these additional vehicles. And secondly, what is the fee going to be? If there is some red tape here, some restriction, if you get caught breaking these rules, what is the fee going to be? Is it even going to matter if somebody gets a slap on the wrist? Let's see what else we have to say here. It didn't take long for the city to get the program up and running. Less than a year later, this, as we know, started in January 2024. The pilot went off into effect in these specific wards, 1, 3, 4, 5, and 7. These were wards that had the higher concentration of these issues for what it turned out to be a very, very short stint. Landlords in this particular operating rental properties, this turned out to be a very short stint. Landlords in the particular wards operating rental properties with up to 4 units were required to obtain a license from the city at a cost of $300 per year. If you're running a rental property, $300 a year shouldn't be a big deal, especially if you are doing it properly. The program also called for an annual random inspection, new enforcement procedures, steep fines for non-compliance, demerit point system for landlords, and the creation of a registered landlord directory and a standardized landlord code of conduct. There was a good amount of uproar from the landlords in the city of Brampton after the program was launched. Almost immediately, a petition began to circulate around the city. They found almost 7,000 plus signatures on this petition. It's amazing. As a landlord, I mean, I wouldn't be too excited to have to go through all this red tape, but you have to understand where they're coming from. And the city does need the additional money to supply to the police and by law to make sure that everything is being followed. Without getting into specifics, the city spokesperson told Stories.com in a statement last month that the program was paused on January 25th in a direct response. So this is from the community outcry. The spokesperson also said that the city is axing the program's criminal record check criteria, but did not respond to Story's inquiry on whether the particular criteria was removed. Interesting. In addition, it looks like the city will likely exempt condominium apartments and townhouses from the licensing requirements and will accept a property tax bill as proof of ownership. Meanwhile, to place concerns that this means an extra expense for landlords in the city, the full fee waiver between March 31st and June 30th. Originally, this was supposed to be waived during the first 3 months, but it looks like they are actually going to be extending it even further, and it was supposed to have a discount on the second half. The city is now working on streamlining the business licensing requirements for the registered ARUs, along with the requirements, reviewing them for inspections, improving on the online applications, and making sure that the incentive program for landlords is in good standing. The city is also now working on streamlining the business licensing requirements for the registered ARUs, along with the requirements, reviewing them for inspections, improving the online application form to make it more user-friendly, and considering an incentive program for landlords in good standing, either a fee reduction or a waiver. Next steps Our next steps may be looking at opportunities for future engagement with residents and landlords, and also lifting the pause on the temporary intake of applications to 6 to 8 weeks to address these items. In more certain terms, Santos said that the city is aiming to resume this program next month and are actively heeding the community's input in the meantime. If you are a landlord, if you have been in disarray because of this, if you are one of those 7,000 plus who signed the petition, I urge you to just prepare that the city of Brampton seems like they've put their foot down. They are going to go forward with this program. And this is just a pilot program. Remember, if they find that this is a good program and there's going to be value here for the city and they can get enough people to kind of hop on board, I would imagine it would expand even further beyond these 5 or 6 wards that they currently have under contract here or on that pilot project. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think these landlords should be upset? Do you think they should have all this red tape? Or do you think because they were able to buy a second property, they should be able to do with it whatever they want? Me personally, I hate driving through towns or cities when you can tell that the properties are not maintained, when there's cars everywhere, 6, 7 cars on a 2-car driveway somehow. I like to see the houses and everybody maintaining them to the best of their ability. When you have multiple people in the house, and we're talking 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people in a house, especially with these separate rental units, it becomes tough to maintain the house. Whose responsibility is it? Are they all helping? It's just a lot more confusion than it needs to be. So thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one where we are covering some news articles, home tours, and everything in between. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.